Hello, namaskar. This is Firstpost, and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Kamala Harris will be the presidential nominee for the Democrats. Their convention kicked off yesterday. Joe Biden delivered his farewell speech. Harris will accept the nomination later this week. At this point, it is a mere formality. The convention was supposed to celebrate the unity of the Democratic Party. But now Israel's war threatens to disrupt the event. Thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters plan to demonstrate there throughout the event. We'll tell you how this could overshadow Harris's plans. Her rival Donald Trump is also ramping up his campaign with some help from Elon Musk. Trump has put out AI-generated fake endorsements from celebrities like Taylor Swift. In India, the Supreme Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the Kolkata rape case. The top court has created a national task force to ensure the safety of doctors. The Malaysian Prime Minister is visiting India. We'll get you the highlights of that visit and meetings. In Kenya, the Ruto government plans to bring back the taxes which led to the anti-government unrest earlier this summer. And finally, the Saudi Crown Prince has made plans to display the world's most expensive painting. He plans to build what is being called the Saudi Louvre. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The US says Israel has accepted a proposal for a Gaza truce deal. Top US diplomat Antony Blinken has urged Hamas to accept the deal as well. Blinken is traveling to Egypt and Qatar as truce talks gain momentum. Both Egypt and Qatar have been working with the Americans to broker a truce in the 10-month-long Gaza conflict. China greenlights a record-breaking nuclear expansion. Beijing approves 11 nuclear reactors across 5 sites. This comes as the country battles rising emissions from fossil fuels. China is the world's biggest emitter of greenhouse gases that are driving climate change. Sweden's central bank lowers its policy rate again. It's the second rate cut this year. In the month of May, the central bank made its first rate cut in 8 years. In June, Sweden's inflation fell to its lowest level in almost 3 years. Prosecutors in Equatorial Guinea want an 18-year jail term for the president's son. They accuse him of selling a plane belonging to the national airline. In 2023, the 49-year-old was arrested and placed under house arrest. His father has ruled the small West African nation for more than 45 years. And there's upheaval in Pakistan's parliament, but for once, its politicians are not to be blamed. The real culprits are rats. The government has now allocated more than 1 million Pakistani rupees to fight the menace. Hunting cats will be used to catch the rats, creating havoc in the parliament. And they're off. The Democratic Convention is underway in Chicago. Last month, there were concerns that this event may be delayed. Many feared the convention would descend into chaos. In July, President Joe Biden's campaign was falling apart. Eventually, he had to bow out of the race due to concerns over his age and health. His exit could have triggered an open fight for the nomination, but that's not happened. Instead, it has re-energized the Democrats. The party rallied around Kamala Harris, projecting a united front. Her nomination is now a mere formality. She has both the money and the political momentum needed to see her through. And this was evident when Harris made a surprise appearance at the convention today.
This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President Joe Biden.
Harris will make her speech on Thursday, the last day of the convention, when she will formally accept the Democratic nomination. The first day was about Joe Biden. He delivered what is being seen as his farewell speech. The president was introduced by his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, and his daughter, Ashley Biden. And the president was visibly emotional. Biden's speech was highly anticipated, but he was scheduled to speak last. Other leaders like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Hillary Clinton spoke before him. And to make matters worse, Biden's speech was delayed by several hours. He started speaking only at around 11:30 p.m. local time, which is well past what U.S. networks consider prime time. So did the Democrats snub Joe Biden here? Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. Reports say that the event was simply running behind schedule and Biden's speech was on expected lines. He began by defending his track record as president.
Because of you, we've had one of the most extraordinary 4 years of progress ever, period. When I say we, I mean Kamala and me. Just think about it. COVID no longer controls our lives. We've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the entire world.
But more significant were Biden's attacks on Donald Trump. He did not pull the punches. Biden called Donald Trump, and I'm quoting, a loser who is dead wrong. He countered Trump's claims on issues like crime, immigration, and gun violence. He said America is better off without Donald Trump. He also highlighted Trump's legal troubles, calling him a convicted felon.
When he talks about America being a failing nation, he says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong. Trump continues to lie about crime in America, like everything else. Guess what? On his watch, the murder rate went up 30%, the biggest increase in history. Violent crime has dropped to the lowest level of more than 50 years. And crime will keep coming down when we put a prosecutor in the Oval Office instead of a convicted felon.
A convicted felon versus a prosecutor. That is the narrative that the Democrats are trying to build. They want to highlight Donald Trump's conviction. He was convicted for falsifying business records, and he faces multiple criminal cases. The Democrats are repeatedly reminding voters about this and contrasting it with the track record of Kamala Harris as the Attorney General of California. Biden also doubled down on this message. He called on the Democrats to unite and beat Donald Trump.
It's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as your president. I love the job, but I love my country more. In 2024, we need you to vote. We need you to keep the Senate. We need you to win back the House of Representatives. And above all, we need you to beat Donald Trump.
Biden received loud cheers for that, but not everyone was cheering him. A massive protest has cast a shadow on the Democratic convention. Several pro-Palestinian protesters gathered at the venue. They're raising their voice against Israel's war in Gaza and Joe Biden's support to Israel for this war. They put up banners inside the convention hall, banners like this one. It says, "Stop arming Israel." It was put up by a delegate from Michigan. He was raising his voice against the Democratic platform. That is the party's manifesto for this election. He was demanding an end to U.S. military support for Israel.
We were trying to get people to vote against the platform because the platform the platform fails to address the issue about disarmament, about the arms embargo.
There were protests outside as well. Thousands of people had assembled just blocks from the convention venue. They said the Democrats have failed to keep Israel's excesses in check. In fact, many protesters singled out Kamala Harris, saying that they won't vote for her unless she commits to an arms embargo on Israel.
Kamala Harris has expressed her sympathies for the Palestinian people and what they're going through, but nice words is not enough. We want action.
Well, I definitely will not be voting for Kamala. She's been his right-hand man, and we've heard her stance on Israel.
Unless Harris and Walz show something that to me is tangible, I cannot vote for Harris, and I certainly won't vote for Trump.
On his part, Joe Biden tried to address the issue. He said a ceasefire is coming, but that, it seems, was not good enough for the protesters. They're expected to continue their demonstration throughout this convention. And this highlights a significant challenge for Kamala Harris. She may be nominated unopposed, but that's only half the battle won. To become the US president, she needs to win over the undecided voters, those who are still on the fence. Without their support, winning the presidential race would be tough.
You know, they do polls and this stuff, and I'm at like 93%. People say, be nice. Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh of a crazy person. I'm a better looking person than Kamala. We're not going to let this socialist lunatic, and she's a socialist lunatic.
So day one got off to a roaring start for the DNC. The Democrats dominated airwaves. They're gaining momentum. And all of this is not sitting well with Donald Trump, obviously. A month ago, he was soaring. He was the only headline. But now he barely makes it to the pages. So the former US president has shifted tack. His plan is a week-long blitz of rallies. On Saturday, he was in Pennsylvania, which is a battleground state.
I'm here today to deliver a simple message. When I'm back in the White House, America's future will be built right here in Pennsylvania. And it will be built by American workers like you. It'll be all over the country we'll be building, but Pennsylvania is always a big factor.
Trump started with policies. He talked about the economy. He talked about his American dream. And he largely stuck to the script. But Trump, being Trump, could only do it for a while. Soon it was time for personal attacks.
People say, be nice. Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh of a crazy person. That is the laugh of a crazy. It's the laugh of a lunatic. Have you heard it? I'm a better looking person than Kamala. No, I couldn't believe it. She said, you know, I had never heard that one. They said, no, her biggest advantage is that she's a beautiful woman. I'm going, huh. I never thought of that. I'm better looking than she is.
He criticized Kamala Harris's looks. He slammed her laughter, called her Comrade Kamala, and accused her of regulatory jihad.
Yesterday, Kamala went full communist. You heard that? She went full communist. She wants to destroy our country. After causing catastrophic inflation, Comrade Kamala announced that she wants to institute socialist price controls. You saw that. Never worked before, never ever worked.
Trump's advisors are said to be worried about these shrill attacks. They're urging him to lower the rhetoric. They want him to stick to policies and lay off the personal attacks. The Republicans feel it could play badly with swing voters. But Trump is sticking to his style. In fact, he's brought back an old theory, the birther conspiracy. He called Kamala Harris foreign, asking where she had come from. Now, a quick primer here. Kamala Harris was born in America to immigrant parents. Her father is Jamaican, her mother was Indian. But Trump continues to question her ethnicity. And it's not the first time that he's done this. In 2016, he questioned Barack Obama's citizenship. He said Obama was born in Kenya and not in Hawaii as claimed. When Obama released his birth certificate, Trump called it fake. In 2019, he attacked more Democrats like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. He asked them to go back to where they had come from. In 2024, he questioned the citizenship of Nikki Haley. She was his rival in the Republican race in his own party, and he questioned her eligibility. So the attacks on Harris are on expected lines. But are they working? As of August 19, Kamala Harris was leading the national polls. She was at 49%, with Donald Trump trailing at 47%. In the battleground state of Pennsylvania, Trump and Harris are neck and neck. Both are polling at 48%. In Georgia, Trump's taken a lead. He's at 50%. Harris is trailing at 46%. So the polls are a mixed picture at this point, and they have got it wrong in the past, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt, which makes this race a very close one. Any of them could end up in the White House next January, but Trump is getting ahead of himself. He's already choosing his cabinet. And on his list is his new BFF, Elon Musk.
I would. He's very smart. I had a great talk with him the other day. As you know, went on for 2.5 hours almost, and perhaps you listened, but he's a very smart guy. I certainly would. If he would do it, I certainly would. He's a brilliant guy.
Musk seems to have accepted the offer. He posted an AI photo of himself. It shows Musk behind a lectern that says DOGE. It stands for Department of Government Efficiency. Not sure that name will pass, but it's not the only AI image in this election. This weekend, Donald Trump posted AI images of Taylor Swift. The caption read, "I accept." Now, Taylor Swift has never endorsed Donald Trump. She has endorsed the Democrats before, and she's expected to do the same this time, but that has not stopped the political players who are turning this election into an election of misinformation. The internet is full of rumors, falsehoods, and fake videos, all of which can be weaponized. If the US does not address it urgently, it could end up disrupting the entire election.
What was the police doing?
As an Indian, to uphold truth and justice.
Let's turn to India now, to the brutal rape and murder case in Kolkata. Yesterday we told you about the investigation. We also told you about the politics and how no one is asking the right questions. Well, today we can say someone is. And that someone is the Supreme Court of India. The Chief Justice has taken suo motu cognizance of this case. The first hearing was held today, and the court had questions for everyone, from the former principal of the college to the state government and the state police.
That we are deeply concerned of the fact that the name of the deceased who was assaulted and murdered, the name has been published all over the media. Photographs have been published all over the media. What was the principal doing? Why did he not, why was this kind of inaction on the part, first, an attempt to pass this off as a suicide instead of a murder?
I'm sorry, Mother, that's not correct.
Not recording, not registering an FIR till late in the evening. Third, the body itself is handed over to the parents sometime in the evening for cremation. A group of persons, a mob assembles at the hospital. The hospital is invaded and the critical facilities are damaged in the morning or whenever the mob enters. What was the police doing?
A lot of questions were for the West Bengal government, and understandably so. First, such a brutal crime happened inside a medical college. Then a mob vandalized the crime scene. So it looks like the top court has run out of patience here. They're asking central agencies to secure the RG Kar Medical College. Security agencies like the CISF and the CRPF, they have been asked to do this. Now, beyond the directives, three things stand out. Number one, the Chief Justice of India said that this is not just about the murder, it's about the safety of doctors across the country. Number two, he called it an issue of national importance, and we agree. When you have 1.4 billion people, health is a strategic concern. And finally, point number three, women must be assured safety at the workplace. If not, we are denying them equality. Now, these are very important points raised by the Chief Justice of India. The question is, who is going to do all of this and how? Well, the court has set up a national task force. It has 9 doctors from across India, some from AIIMS, some from government medical colleges, and 1 from the Indian Navy. This task force has been given a specific job: draw up rules to ensure safety and security of medical professionals inside hospitals, whether it's doctors or nurses or even medical students on duty. They must all be safe. Now, this task force will draw up the required rules. They must submit an interim report within 3 weeks and a final report within 2 months. Similar orders have been given to the CBI and the Kolkata police. They are the ones investigating the case. Both must submit a status report by Thursday. And that's not all. The court is seeking some information from state and central governments too, specifically on 8 points. How many security professionals do hospitals have? Is there baggage screening at the entry? How many resting rooms are there? What facilities do these rooms have? Are all areas in a hospital under CCTV coverage? Is there training to handle grieving patients? Are there police outposts at hospitals? And is there a POSH committee in place? That's a committee to handle sexual harassment cases, a POSH committee. Now, these are the questions that India's top court asked today. The central government has to compile this data and hand it over within a month. That is the gist of what happened in court today. Questions for authorities, task force for solutions, and homework for governments. Now, this hearing is not a silver bullet. We have to remember that. It won't change things overnight. But it's a very important start because the conversation was veering away from the root problem. the problem of safety. Instead, it was becoming a political spectacle. You had street demonstrations, nonsensical deadlines for death sentences, and demands for resignation. But the top court of India has done us a favor. It has put the focus back where it should be. What's more, it has given us a roadmap, suggestions on how to make things better. Now, it's all up to the governments, both the state and the central government. They don't have to wait for the task force to file a report. They can take actions voluntarily. In fact, the Health Ministry has written to all central institutions. They have suggested 12 security measures, like more CCTV cameras, a control room to respond to emergencies, and duty rooms for medics on the job. Yes, such suggestions have come after the incident, but still it's a welcome move. I guess the bottom line is quite simple here. We need a systemic overhaul. We need to rethink state-run hospitals and medical colleges, whether it's their funding or their security arrangements or their infrastructure. Minor tweaks won't help. You need to think big now. And in the short term, you must talk to the protesting doctors as well, whether it's the West Bengal government or the central government. These doctors have a list of demands. Maybe not all of them are achievable or can be met, but a conversation is necessary. In West Bengal, we've seen the opposite. Some Trinamool Congress leaders have been targeting the doctors. One said that female medics are going around with their boyfriends. Another is threatening to break the hands of protesting doctors, and the top court had a warning for them too. The Chief Justice told West Bengal to not unleash the state's power on protesters. So the court is doing its job. It's now time for governments to do theirs.
और साथ ही प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी बीच मुलाकात हैदराबाद हाउस से ये तस्वीरें आप फिलहाल देख पा रहे हैं।
अब इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट यहाँ पर ये निकल करके आता है कि होगा इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी को बढ़ावा मिलेगा, लेकिन भारत
मलेशिया के प्रधानमंत्री जो हैं भारत के दौरे पर हैं।
Our next story is also from New Delhi. The Indian capital is hosting an important guest, Anwar Ibrahim, the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Anwar is on his first state visit to India. He arrived last night and today he was given a grand ceremonial welcome. He first met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, that's the official residence of the President of India. After the warm welcome, Anwar went to Rajghat, the memorial complex in New Delhi, where he paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi by laying a wreath at the spot of Gandhi's cremation. Now, with the ceremonial welcome out of the way, Anwar went to Hyderabad House. That's the Indian Prime Minister's state guest house in New Delhi. It is used for high-level meetings and banquets. That's where Anwar and Modi held their meetings. After their discussions, a total of 8 MOUs were signed between the two nations. And some quite interesting ones. You have the recruitment, employment and repatriation of workers, cooperation in the field of digital technologies and also tourism. And finally, an MOU between India's regulatory body for special economic zones and the regulatory body for Malaysia's federal territory of Labuan. Those are some of the deals that were signed today. Then there's trade, of course. India is the largest buyer of Malaysian palm oil. This has been the case for 10 years in a row. Palm oil is a key export for Malaysia. India bought about 20% of the country's palm oil in 2023, which shows the deep trade ties. And the trade doesn't just flow one way. India, in turn, exports rice to Malaysia. India is the largest exporter of rice in the world. Malaysia is a key market, especially this year, when they've been dealing with a drought. Kuala Lumpur asked Delhi for 500,000 tons of rice in March, highlighting the mutual trade benefits. Now, both countries want to expand these ties, and it doesn't end there. The Indian Prime Minister has bigger plans.
डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी में सहयोग के लिए डिजिटल काउंसिल की स्थापना करने का और स्टार्टअप अलायंस बनाने का निर्णय लिया है। भारत के यूपीआई और मलेशिया के पे नेट को जोड़ने के लिए भी काम किया जाएगा।
India and Malaysia plan to form a digital council, a startup alliance, and they plan to link their digital payment systems, India's UPI and Malaysia's PayNet.
We have agreed to enhance further and make it a comprehensive strategic partnership. Yes, Malaysia and India, from the days of Jawaharlal Nehru and Tunku Abdul Rahman, has established good relations. But we realize under our generation that this must be further strengthened in a multitude of areas, which covers, as the Prime Minister has rightly put, digital and investments and trade in construction and modern agriculture, education, research, all fields, including military collaboration in terms of joint operations to safeguard our borders, and we look forward to that further enhanced relation.
So India and Malaysia are planning to take their bilateral ties up a notch to the level of a comprehensive strategic partnership. And this may include joint military operations, which is a big step forward. Remember, Malaysia is a Southeast Asian country, so of course it faces pressure from China. Beijing has bogus claims on Malaysian territory in the South China Sea as well. So it makes sense for Kuala Lumpur to seek out reliable partners, and it seems that they are looking at India. It also shows India's growing importance as a counterweight to China in the Indo-Pacific. An Indo-Malaysian defense partnership will help take ties to a new level, especially after the last few years. Indo-Malaysian ties soured under Mahathir Mohamad. He was Malaysia's Prime Minister between 2018 and 2020. He was quick to criticize India's moves in Kashmir, but refused to hand over a controversial preacher called Zakir Naik. Zakir Naik is a fugitive, wanted for questioning over potential hate speech in India. Mahathir Mohamad refused to hand over Zakir Naik to India, further souring ties between the two countries. But it seems that Anwar wants to sweep these old issues under the carpet. He seems keen on reforging good ties, and New Delhi looks to be reciprocating. So perhaps this will mean a new dawn for relations between the two countries. Let's turn our attention to the Taiwan Strait now. Tensions are rising there. 2 German warships are on Taiwan's doorstep. They're ready to cross the strait. The move was intended to show support. Germany wanted to stand with Taiwan and show support for the freedom of movement in the Taiwan Strait. But right now the Germans seem to be holding off. The commanders of these ships are waiting for orders from Berlin. And China obviously is not happy with Germany's move. It is pushing back. Our next report tells you how.
The growing presence of the Chinese military in the Indo-Pacific is increasingly alarming the West. Germany is the latest country to wake up to the challenge. In May, it made a bold move. Berlin dispatched 2 warships to visit the region: the Frankfurt am Main, a supply ship, and the Baden-Württemberg, a frigate. They are now right outside the Taiwan Strait. Their commander is waiting for orders from Berlin. He sounds determined to cross the strait. He says the ships will be showing the German flag as they gear up to make their presence felt around Taiwan. If it happens, the vessels would be the first German ships to pass the Taiwan Strait since the year 2002. And that's unlikely to make Beijing happy. Already, China is reminding Germany about its claims on Taiwan. China says that Taiwan belongs to the mainland, so it opposes any movement of foreign ships around the Taiwan Strait. But increasingly, more Western nations are deploying warships to the region. American vessels now make multiple visits to the Taiwan Strait, and each time that happens, the Chinese Navy mobilizes. It sends a warship to confront the American vessel. Last year, there was a dangerous encounter. An American destroyer was passing through the Taiwan Strait. A Chinese ship tried to come in its way. The German Navy expects China to extend a similar welcome when they sail through the strait. Reports say that the German warships could enter the region next month. They also plan to make stops in South Korea and the Philippines and participate in military exercises, along with other Western partners like the US, France and Italy. The West wants to ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains free and open for all. The visit by the warships and the military drills are aimed at ensuring that. Taiwan too is bolstering its defenses. Today it conducted missile drills in southern Taiwan. Taipei test-fired 2 missiles, the homegrown Skybow 3 and the American-made Patriot missile. These missiles are vital for Taiwan's defense against a potential Chinese attack.
All the missiles launched today successfully hit the targets, which shows that our training is very strict and solid. On the other hand, our missiles have also been well tested through this training.
In response, China is intensifying its own operations in the region. Just today, 5 Chinese aircraft and 11 Chinese vessels were spotted near Taiwan. So, China's military pressure on the island intensifies, and the West, it seems, is responding in kind.
Now let's turn our attention to Africa, to Kenya in the east, where the government seems to have come full circle. After a few months of lying dormant, the taxes are back. Kenya's new Treasury Secretary has made an announcement. The government wants to raise about $1.2 billion in additional revenue. And they plan to get that money through taxation. So Kenya is back to square one, despite months of unrest. You may remember that taxes were central to the recent protests in the country. In mid-June, thousands of people took to the streets. They were protesting against their annual budget, the Finance Bill 2024. The bill was supposed to introduce new taxes, controversial ones, like a tax on bread and on sanitary pads and diapers. And this led to widespread public anger against the government and against Kenya's President William Ruto. Ruto became president in September 2022, and he's been raising taxes ever since. His detractors have even likened him to a biblical tax collector. But he kept pushing on until the anti-tax protests erupted. They put him on the back foot. The protests were organized online, mostly by ordinary young Kenyans. The demonstrations were led by members of Gen Z who took to the streets to protest peacefully. But they were met with police brutality, and this angered the demonstrators. Public anger reached a peak on June 25th when thousands of protesters stormed Kenya's parliament building in the capital, Nairobi. And this was unprecedented. It made Ruto back down.
Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya, who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn.
Ruto decided to scrap his own tax bill, just like the protesters wanted. But it wasn't enough. Some Kenyans continued to protest and demanded Ruto's resignation. Chants of Ruto must go rang through the streets. So the president has been doing everything he can to stay in power. On the 11th of July, he dismissed his entire cabinet. On the 24th of July, he announced a new broad-based government. He inducted members of the main opposition party into his cabinet, creating a unity government. He even made one of the opposition members his Treasury Secretary. And now that very same opposition politician is talking about tax hikes. So in some ways, the situation in Kenya is even worse than before, because in June, there was a viable political opposition to Ruto. But now he has co-opted them, and they are the ones saying that the taxes will be reintroduced. This includes a controversial eco-levy, a tax on goods that pollute the environment. This includes a 10% tax on goods that can harm the environment, both imported goods and things like locally manufactured plastic. This eco-levy was one of the most contentious new taxes because it would have applied to sanitary pads and diapers, which are use and throw items. But the Kenyan government says that this time sanitary pads will be exempt. Now, diapers have not been mentioned yet, but they're also a contentious issue, so they may also be exempt. But Kenya's eco-tax will return in an amended form. 48 other items from the rejected budget will make a comeback, again, after a few tweaks. Kenya's new unity government plans to pass the updated tax plan by the 30th of September, exactly 3 months after they were supposed to pass the budget. All this begs the question, did the Kenyan protests really achieve anything? It seems Ruto has won in the end. He has stayed on in power, co-opted the opposition and outmaneuvered the protesters. At the end of the day, he's getting what he wanted, more taxes, after months of demonstrations and lives lost to police brutality. Are Kenyans going to be fine with this, or will they take to the streets again? We'll see in the days to come. On Monday, a luxury yacht sank off the coast of Italy's Sicily, reportedly due to freak weather. There were 22 people on board. 6 of them are missing, including a British tech tycoon and the international chairman of Morgan Stanley. As of now, rescue operations are still underway. Search is on for survivors and the world is tracking all updates. All the media attention is on this tragedy. But the Italian coast is no stranger to disasters like this. Every year, dozens of migrant boats sink here. Hundreds of lives are lost. But these are poor asylum seekers, so no one really talks about them. Our next report tells you more.
This is Porticello, a small fishing village on the Sicilian coast. At around 5 a.m. local time, it was hit by a violent storm. There were flashes of lightning and water sprouts appeared. Boats waited for the storm to pass. Among them was British-flagged Bayesian. When the storm struck, the Bayesian's anchor was down. It caused the aluminium mast to break into half. The ship lost its balance and it sunk along with its passengers.
And this morning we got this very strong orkan gust. Yeah. And we had to start the engine to keep the ship in an anchor position, and we watched the ship behind us not to touch them. Yeah. And we managed to keep the ship in position, and after the storm was over, we noticed that the ship behind us was gone.
22 people were on board when the boat went down. This included 12 passengers and 10 crew members. 15 have since been rescued and 1 body was recovered. Reports say it was the ship's chef. But 6 others are still missing. One of them is Mike Lynch. He's known as the British Bill Gates. He founded software giant Autonomy in 1996. He sold it to HP in 2011. He was accused of a massive fraud, and in June he was cleared of it. So he organized this trip for his work colleagues. Also among the missing are Lynch's 18-year-old daughter, the international bank chairman of Morgan Stanley, a Clifford Chance lawyer, and 2 others. Rescue operations are still underway. Police divers have identified the wreckage. It's around 164 feet below the surface. Teams are still searching for the missing, but they haven't had any luck. The diving unit says the operations will continue until they find everyone.
We are not stopping. We have resources, manpower, and means. Our goal is to find all the people who are missing, so that is our job.
Italian authorities have opened a probe into this. Meanwhile, the world is fixated on this tragedy. The media attention is continuous, and social media can't get enough. For many, it's a reminder of the Titan submersible incident last year. But the Italian coast is no stranger to accidents like this one. In June this year, a boat carrying more than 70 migrants was off the Italian coast. It capsized, 12 died, and 60 went missing at sea. Farther south, 10 other people were found dead. It was off the Italian island of Lampedusa. The central Mediterranean is a deadly migration route. Over 3,000 migrants died or disappeared just last year. But no one cares about those drownings. Why? Because these are migrants fleeing conflict or poverty. Poor people who are risking their lives and losing it in the process. Yet the media never focuses on those tragedies. While every life is valuable in theory, in reality it seems some are more precious than others.
Now let's turn our attention to Switzerland. Every year, millions of tourists visit this tiny European country. They eat cheese and chocolates, they view the snow-capped Alps and take in the breathtaking views of Swiss lakes. But little do they know that what lies beneath these pristine waters is a pile of munitions. Thousands of tons of munitions, including explosives. So now Switzerland wants to clean up these lakes. They're asking for ideas from the public and offering thousands of dollars as prize money for the best idea. But why are Swiss lakes filled with munitions in the first place? How dangerous is this? And how much will the actual salvage operation cost? Here's a report.
This is Lake Neuchâtel, the largest lake wholly in Switzerland. Neuchâtel offers picture postcard views with vineyard landscapes and charming medieval towns on its shores. Tourists come in droves to vacation here, but they have no idea about what dangers lie beneath this lake. Lake Neuchâtel contains all kinds of munitions, including dangerous explosives, about 4,500 tons of them. And these munitions are just 6 or 7 meters below the surface. How did they get here, you ask? Because the Swiss Air Force used this lake for bombing practice until as recently as 2021. And this is not an isolated case. Switzerland has about 1,500 lakes. Many of them are dumping grounds for old munitions, thanks to the Swiss military. For years, they disposed of munitions in the lakes. Today, some of them sit at depths of 200 meters, but others, like in the case of Lake Neuchâtel, float just below the surface. Now, Switzerland wants to fix this problem, and they have an odd solution. They will not come up with solutions on their own. Instead, the government is holding a competition. They are inviting ideas from the public and offering prize money of 50,000 francs. That's about $58,000. Switzerland is looking for safe and environmental solutions. The best 3 ideas will share the prize pot. Until February next year, Switzerland will continue hunting for ideas. They want to come up with a workable plan to get the munitions out. But this is just the beginning. The operation will be long and costly. It's expected to cost billions. It'll also be complicated, and here's why. For decades, geologists thought the practice was safe, so the army dumped munitions underwater. This means different kinds of munitions now lie in different lakes, some of which were outdated, faulty, or surplus. But in many cases, the army did not remove the fuses before dumping the munition. So, despite the fact that they're underwater, there is still the risk of an explosion. That's the first big risk, and this is no secret. The fact that Swiss lakes are a munition dump has been known for decades, but the safety concerns are more recent. So in the past few years, the government has held multiple assessments. They've tried all kinds of recovery techniques. But all proposed solutions have proven to be risky, which makes the salvage process quite complicated. But the longer Switzerland waits, the greater the risks, not only of explosions, but also of environmental damage. These munitions are highly toxic. They've been polluting the lake water and soil, so the government wants to get the munitions out in an environmentally friendly manner. So far, it doesn't have any feasible solutions. They hope the prize money gets researchers cracking. But even with fresh ideas, execution will be tough. There is a lot to consider. The risk of explosions, size, weight and type of munitions, different locations, environmental concerns, poor visibility underwater, the water depth, and currents. So, with or without ideas, Switzerland is in deep water.
It was November 2017. A heated auction was unfolding in New York, and the prize was this, the Salvator Mundi, a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Most experts thought it would sell for around $100 million. But guess how much it actually got? $450 million, thus making it the most expensive painting ever sold. The question is, who has that sort of cash lying around? Reports at the time mentioned MBS, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Apparently, he hanged it on his yacht. But new reports say that is not the case. Yes, he bought the painting, but it's stored away in a vault in Geneva. No one has seen the painting in almost 7 years. So why are we talking about it now? Because MBS reportedly has a plan for it. He is planning to build a grand museum in Riyadh, sort of like a Saudi Louvre. And he wants Salvatore Mundi to headline it. Like the Louvre has Mona Lisa, the one in Paris. The Saudi Louvre could have Salvatore Mundi. Of course, this has not been confirmed yet. This is all based on reports in the Western media, but the idea itself is intriguing. First, let's talk a bit about the painting. The Salvatore Mundi dates back to the 1500s. It depicts Jesus Christ as the savior of the world. His left hand is carrying an orb and his right hand has two raised fingers. Some call it the male Mona Lisa. It's actually the only Da Vinci painting in private hands. The rest are all owned by museums. But this painting is not exactly squeaky clean because art experts are divided on it. A lot of them do not think that Da Vinci painted it. They say maybe it's the work of his students. If true, that's $500 million down the drain. But let's be frank here, MBS is not concerned about the quality or the technique of this painting. He is concerned about the brand. People will pay money to see the Salvatore Mundi. So it's a great way to build the Saudi brand, to attract more tourists, especially from the West. And Riyadh is already on the job. Last year, the director of the British Museum resigned. Guess where he is now? In Saudi Arabia, working on Mohammed bin Salman's project. Another example is Iwona Blaswick. She was director at London's Whitechapel Gallery. And where is she now? Again, in Saudi Arabia. It's pretty much in line with Saudi strategy. If you don't have it, buy it. Whether it's football stars or museum experts. But when will the Saudi Louvre open? Reports say in 2026. It is being called the Museum of World Cultures. Now, the West is not too impressed by it. They have called it art washing, using art to launder your human rights record. On paper, they are right. What comes to mind when I say Saudi Arabia? 20 years back, nothing good. Maybe women clad in burqas, endless deserts, and a conservative society. But today, try asking this question again. What comes to mind when I say Saudi Arabia? Young people might say Cristiano Ronaldo, or Newcastle United, or the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. When the museum opens, maybe they will say Salvatore Mundi. That's what sports washing and art washing does. So yes, it is a legitimate concern, but it's a bit rich coming from the West. Their museums are literally built on stolen works. The British Museum was called the largest receiver of stolen goods in the world. Just look at their top attractions. Elgin marble, stolen from Greece. Rosetta Stone, stolen from Egypt. And the Benin bronzes, stolen from present-day Nigeria. Of course, the museum does not call it that. Look at their website. It says they're caring for 900 objects from the Kingdom of Benin. Just like a kidnapper would care for his victim. So the West has no moral high ground here. They're just angry about someone stealing their playbook. In fact, that could be a strategy here. You see, MBS buying the Salvatore Mundi was controversial. After all, Saudi Arabia is a Muslim kingdom. It is the leader of the Islamic world. So would the people accept a painting of the Christ? In 2017, maybe not. But the kingdom has come a long way since then. By Saudi standards, it is a lot more open. So by 2026, things could be a lot different. Plus, it's a symbolic victory for MBS, the most famous painting of Jesus Christ hanging in a Muslim kingdom, sort of like a role reversal for the West. Many experts say MBS planned it this way. We may not be able to confirm this theory, but we can say this. Whenever MBS has focused on an industry, he's gone all in, whether it's football or Formula One or futuristic cities. So expect the same with art washing. Our last story tonight comes from the Hermit Kingdom of North Korea. Floods have been devastating the country for about a month now, but that's not what is making the news. A new car is. It belongs to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Earlier this month, Kim visited flood-hit areas. He addressed the country from inside an armored train. But do you know what exited from that very train? A luxury car, the latest model of Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600. It costs anywhere between $175,000 to $227,000. And this is raising eyebrows because this country is banned from procuring luxury goods. There are a number of international sanctions against North Korea. It faces a persistent shortage of food, by the way. Yet Kim has managed to get another luxury car. Is it so easy for North Korea to bypass the sanctions then? Here's a report.
Feast your eyes, for these are the spoils of dictatorship. Luxury cars, because this is Kim Jong-un's brand. He's the leader of North Korea, where most citizens can't secure their next meals. But Kim is a fan of sleek Western chariots, and he doesn't like to hide it. But now he's raising eyebrows, because Kim seems to have made an addition to his collection of premium rides. The latest model of Mercedes-Benz SUV, the Mercedes Maybach GLS 600. It was launched in South Korea just a few months ago, and it costs between $175,000 and $227,000. Earlier this month, Kim visited multiple provinces in the Hermit Kingdom. Why? Because of the devastating floods. They've wreaked havoc in the country for about a month now. South Korean media claims that 1,000 to 1,500 people have died, though Kim denies these claims. Kim has been visiting the flood-hit regions in his armoured train. He has addressed the people from inside the carriage. While this happened, do you know what was seen rolling out of the train? The luxury Mercedes SUV. And this is all kinds of absurd. Kim strictly imposes a government policy which discourages foreign influence, be it through music, art, news, and even cars. Authorities repeatedly crack down on K-pop music from rival South Korea. But what about Kim's South Korean car? North Korea is banned from procuring luxury goods thanks to international sanctions. They were first imposed in 2006 after Pyongyang conducted its first nuclear test. The sanctions are meant to limit the resources available to Kim, especially those that can be used to develop weapons. But also things like luxury goods that can hurt the North Korean government in less visible ways. But clearly the plan is not working very well. Because, according to reports, there is a complex smuggling network in place, from port transfers to secret high seas shipping, even shadowy front companies. They happily smuggle cars for their supreme leader. Between 2015 and 2017, 90 countries served as a source of luxury goods to Pyongyang. Some reports say that the Kim family has a garage filled with cars, hundreds of them, from Mercedes to Volkswagens and Lexuses. And when North Korea is importing these luxury cars, Kim receives them as gifts, especially from his BFF, Russian leader Vladimir Putin. This year, Putin gifted 2 cars to Kim. In February, the Auris Sonat limousine, and in June, another Russian-made Auris Sonat with a retro twist, which Putin himself uses as his official presidential car. The retail price for a normal Auris Senat is between $400,000 to $850,000. But the presidential version, that falls in an entirely different league. This armoured vehicle weighs 7 tons. It can withstand bomb and chemical attacks. Passengers can survive in the car even when submerged underwater. So this car costs a whopping $127 million. Do you know how much money that is? It's enough to purchase 400,000 tons of corn in North Korea. That's enough to feed the entire population for 40 days. Yet, this famine-struck nation cannot distract Kim from his passion for luxury cars.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. A rocket engine exploded in flames during a test at the Scottish spaceport. An oil spill stains Venezuela's beaches, killing several animals, and robotic coaches are now helping stroke survivors in their rehabilitation. Finally, taking you back in history, on this day in 1975, the Viking 1 was launched to Mars. It was an unmanned US planetary probe. The Viking 1 was the first spacecraft to successfully land on Mars. It sent back images of the Martian surface. We are leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment.
So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can you expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. The first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Aaron Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.